approve.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics. We get started as we do each and every week by introducing my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell. Say something because the podcasters don't see.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Hi.
Ruben Bressler.
You switched it up on us. You went with Aaron first this week.
Hey, man.
It's like Aaron,
And I
you were
dropped
like,
the
and
ball.
here's Aaron Campbell, and I was about to be like, hey, that's not me. But hi.
Ruben Bressler.
Hi.
Ladies and gentlemen.
That's my name.
All right. And we're going to start, as we do each and every week, with the first pick. The first pick has to be Oath of the Gatewatch. Spoilers, these have been confirmed on Magic the Gathering Salvation from people who have, given good information in the past. This is real. This is happening. This is real stuff. So my first question, so I'm going to bring them up on the screen. We got to talk about these. Let's get into it here. There's 3 cards that were spoiled. Mirror Pool, which is a mythic land. Wastes, which is a basic land with no basic land type, and Kozilek, the mythic Kozilek from the set. So let's start at Mirror Pool. Mirror Pool is a land that enters the battlefield tapped. You may tap it to add a diamond to your mana pool. 2 diamond tap sack. Copy target instant or sorcery you control. You may choose new targets. 4 diamond tap sack. Put a token on the battlefield that's a copy of target siege rhino you control. Wastes is, you saw what I did there. Wastes is a basic land. It's full art. It's got a diamond in the middle of it at the bottom. Oh, no one knows what's going on. Kozilek, and here's where you like just everything goes crazy. Kozilek the Great Distortion is an 8 colorless diamond creature. It is a 12/12 legendary Eldrazi. When you cast it, if you have fewer than 7 cards in hand, you draw cards equal to the difference. It has menace because reasons. Why does that menace? Who cares? Just throw that.
It's a menacing, to be fair, it's a menacing looking dude.
Sure, but that's just the most random mechanic they throw in that thing. Discard a card would convert a mana cost X, counter target spell will convert a mana cost X. He has Disrupting Shoal always. Yeah. So first of all, where did these cards come from? That's what I want to know. No one's talking about there just happened to be some not low res images of some cards. I wonder how they got there. It's like Wizards did it on purpose. And it's like Wizards is totally enjoying us freaking out over what these cards mean.
Right.
We have no idea how they work. We have big questions that are brought up. What seems to make the most sense is that the diamond is the colorless mana symbol. So you can play Kozilek, the Great Distortion, for 10 mana, but 2 of it has to be colorless, all right?
From colorless sources.
From colorless sources.
Mindstone style effects. You can't have 10 forests
Exactly.
to play this new guy.
Exactly. It has to be from color. It has to be a Soul Ring, has to be a Boreal Druid, has to be something. So...
Wow, Boreal Druid was where he went second.
Woo! That's where I went because I was reading
buddy.
the Great Designer Search, whatever. Mirror Pool... So here's where my mind is blown. Here's what I don't understand. Mirror Pool taps for a diamond. Why would it tap for a diamond instead of just a colorless mana? That I do not understand. That's what I don't get. This is not purple mana. This is not a 6th color. I am absolutely positive of that because they wouldn't do that A in a small set and B. 6 colors, bad idea.
Well, here's another thing that is very relevant to me at least. Mm-hmm. Wastes does not have a basic land type. Right?
Correct.
It just is a basic land.
Right.
So it can be searched for with Terramorphic Expanse, but it does not deal any additional damage with Tribal Flames.
Correct, because it doesn't mess with domain. It doesn't add a type in any way. And
it's just another basic thing.
Right. So these things blew everyone's mind. I think Wizards is absolutely just getting the biggest kick out of this because they come up with something crazy. And the player base is it's like when they first showed us Planeswalkers and it was here's the Liana, deal with it. And everyone's what is this? This is a type and it's a thing and the numbers are in the weird places and I don't get the up arrows and down and what does that mean? And it was great because everyone was flipping out trying to figure out what they meant. So, that to me makes the most sense. But again, you get to tapping for a diamond and my mind is kind of blown here. So, Aaron, tell us how you feel about these spoilers.
Well, I am currently in the process of building Eldrazi Ramp in Standard. I
Okay.
have the deck built online. I'm assembling the pieces in paper. This is exactly the thing that I want to see because I think you had said, like you just said, the diamond has to be colorless.
Right.
I'm cool.
You're fine.
I'm fine. Explosive Vegetation also can search up 2 basic land cards, so I can also
Okay.
grab those waste cards.
Right.
you go.
And asking me to come up with 2 strictly colorless mana is not going to be a problem. I'm also somebody who really likes chain casting Ulamog. So you cast Ulamog, sacrifice Sanctum of Ugin to grab another Ulamog. Now you're telling me that I can play this mirror pool and make a token of an Ulamog, which I'm still going to sacrifice, but I'll be able to get to the enter the battlefield. That's a cast.
No, it's
Never
a cat.
mind.
They're all cast triggers.
Yeah,
You're just going to copy your Siege Rhinos. Come on now.
Yeah. I
Or
have
end of
some
turn,
di-
make another Ulamog to exile the top 20 of your opponent's
Thank you.
library.
No, but
Yeah.
that doesn't happen unless you cast it. That's what we were talking about, right?
Well,
Oh, it's when he
let's say-
attacks.
That's attack.
It's when he
Yeah.
attacks.
Let's say they're about to Abzan charm your Ulamog, and then on the way out, you're like, okay, cool, yeah, you can exile that, but I get to have another one. And even if it doesn't get the exile effect, you still have another Ulamog for them to deal with.
Yeah. When he
so there's
attacks, he exiles
This
20.
is super weird. I mean, so the 2 high-res images were of Ulamog and Wastes, right? Those are like the most obvious plants, right? Like they're just the most obvious things of like folks at Wizards were bored one day and were like, there's not a ton happening in Magic right now exactly. Why don't we just throw everybody into a hissy, right? And just release these 2 card images and let them go nuts. And then some other guy found an image of Mirror Pool somewhere.
Right.
Which is like another weird thing, but that one's not as high res. So
Well,
it
I
came
think
from a
one
different
thing-
source.
I think one thing that people agree on, which I was really surprised by, is some of the more jaded critics out there, like who focus on the art, like Proxy Guy, they're usually the first ones to spot these things from a mile away. Even they were like, if this is a fake, this is a good fake, because they
Right.
were like,
It's
I can
perfect.
find nothing wrong with this.
Right, and that's where you have, whenever a spoiler comes out, whenever a fake spoiler comes out, the first thing you need to do is search on 10i or whatever it is to find the art, because the art is always the giveaway. The art, if it's brand new, you can't find it anywhere on the internet, that's the number one sign that the card is real. And if you don't think that this wasn't planned months, I mean, if not way further in advance, I have a bridge in New York to sell you, because I'm telling you, man, this was absolutely planned. I don't know how, I don't know why, but it's fine, because again, these 3 cards, like, you go, oh, I think I figured out the mystery, and then Mirror Pool, and it's like, what? And who knows? And no one's talking. And maybe Wizards got the first 2 out, and Mirror Pool showed up from another source. I can understand that, but when Mirror Pool taps for the diamond, that to me
Right.
is the thing that doesn't make sense when you think you have it all figured out that it's just colorless. So I don't know, man. It was no doubt about it. Like this I think did what Wizards wanted them to do, which is get everyone excited about the set. Everyone's freaking out. It's totally new. Minds are blown. I'm in this game now more than 20 years, and I'm still dropping my jaw going, oh my God, what is this?
Yeah. My main issue with this new land is, let's assume that it's what we're saying it is. That you need to have colorless of some kind.
Sure.
Right? So I have 2 issues with that. One is, we already have a large set where we have things like Hedron Archive that says tap, add 2 colorless. Why wouldn't they just introduce tap, add 2 diamonds to your mana pool? Double black diamonds, right? To your
Right.
mana pool in the first set, if this is going to be a thing from now on, right?
Right.
I'm assuming that if this is the colorless symbol, and it's going to be more of an evergreen thing that they might
Right.
use more in the future. So why would they introduce it in a small second set? That's just a weird thing to me. The other thing for me is, let's say you're at a draft at a GP, right? And the people who are running your draft, or at your local game store, you got the little like crown shaped thing that has the 5 basic land types in it. You now have to have like wastes on the table, right? Isn't that
necessarily.
how this is gonna
No.
is gonna play out? Like, how popular is the diamond in the casting cost gonna be? Do you have
Well-
to draft all your wastes like you did with Snowlands?
I think
'Cause
so.
that's kind of awkward, right?
I mean, maybe, but it's if it's what you want to do, and if it powers up your deck in the right way, that's because, all right. So this ties back. It's a nice segue to the Great Designer Search. from many years ago. I'm going to go
and
here.
I posted a link in here in the chat as well.
Awesome. From January 12, 2011, Jonathan Loucks showed his design of what he called Penumbria. It was a deep underground, a new form of magic threatens to extinguish the light. And he had two different things going on. One, he had mana that was like 4 at, and instead of a diamond, you can imagine a diamond, it was the at symbol, and that's how he explained it. And then he had creatures that were prismatic, which are all colors. Just like you have changelings are all creature types, these would be all colors, and things would care about color and things would care about colorless. And it's really interesting that they came up with this. And then you just see the people who are judging, the designers at Wizards, just trash it. Just completely be like, dude, this don't work. What are you talking about? This is crazy. And here's where I wanted to tie it back. When you mentioned they haven't, you have all the 5 land slots when you're drafting and you want to be able to get the lands for your deck. When Jonathan explained it, he was saying, well, you're going to need to print millions upon millions of these new colorless lands that are basic lands and provide them in tournament organizers so people can build their decks with them. And all of a sudden, MaRo is like, whoa, we're going to have to run this to the tip top of the executive chain, and this is going to cost a bunch of money, and it's just worth doing it. And if they just run it like Snowlands, where you have to draft that basic land in order to get that basic bonus, to get that colorless land that you're looking for to make colorless specifically, that's where I think it works, because you can't just say, oh, well, the company's now going to have to spend millions of dollars making all of these basic lands that don't have a type and send them to organizers. No, you just say, you draft the ones you get. The foil ones, for God's sake, are going to be $1 million, because these things are going to be played in EDH forever. And even if it becomes a thing, which I wouldn't be surprised if it does, even if it becomes a thing, like I expect them to print wastes in multiple sets moving forward, just because it's the next land type. It makes colorless. It works. I have no idea what the hell is going on with that diamond. I don't get it.
I don't get it either. I like the EDH part, though, because in order to play a colorless general, the traditional one is Karn Silver Golem, right? Mm-hmm. Usually, because the rules for EDH or Commander are that you can't have cards that have the mana symbols in decks that don't have that color, right? So if you have a colorless general, you needed to fill out your deck with all of these non-basic lands, and so therefore colorless decks were the most expensive.
Right.
Now you actually just get a basic land that you can just, not have any non-basics if you don't want to. That's kind of cool.
That is
I didn't even think about that.
I have to say, there's one more thing about Kozilek that I love, and through my experience playing Green Red Eldrazi, I've come to really dislike Abzan Charm and Crackling Doom. But if you can stick Kozilek on the board, a lot of the ramp spells that we use cost 3. So assuming that you get Kozilek on the board, and let's say you've got a Nissa's Pilgrimage that you're not using, you can then discard that. You can discard your unnecessary ramp spells to counter things like Crackling Doom. If you have a Sylvan Scrying in your hand, you can discard that to counter a Jace. You can... I really like that it gives a lot of your ramp spells that you may not need in the late game something to do. I'm really, really excited about this card.
Well, it also draws you all those cards when you play it. So you get all those cards that are at all those magical mana costs that are going to wreck your opponent, because that's how you got there.
Like, I can counter something that costs 2, I can counter something that costs 3, I can counter something that costs 4. If you play Nissa's Renewal, that's 7, or if you play Atarka. I'm so excited.
I also like that Kozilek has stayed a 12/12 for 10. I like that they kept that.
That's cool.
Because that was like Kozilek's thing, right? Was that it was the most mana efficient of the overpriced Eldrazi's. So I think that that's a pretty cool thing. And it draws cards like old Kozilek did.
Right.
I think that they tied it back to the original Zendikar pretty well.
I think the Menace actually makes sense, too, because he's known for having sort of like a muddling effect on people. Like, people like to talk about the little black, shards that show up on somebody's head when he's kind of possessed them or what have you. Mm-hmm. And so if somebody's so freaked out by you, they can't, block you by themselves. They need other people to help them with that. I think that makes sense.
Sure. So those spoilers, man, are crazy cool. Again, I have been in Magic. I have been butt deep. Thank you very much, butt deep in Magic for so very long. To have something that makes me go like, whoa. I mean, after this long, that's really impressive.
And we didn't even really talk about Mirror Pool that much, because it's kind of overpriced, I guess, but it's also just super interesting. You've never seen a land that does all of that, right? It's a clone and it's a twin cast in a land. That's pretty impressive. I think that card is definitely going to have a home in control decks in standard, depending on what exactly the diamond means. Like, if you need to have a wastes to specifically add diamond mana, or a mirror pool or something like that to add that diamond mana in order to cast things like Kozilek or whatever else comes on down the road, then Mirror Pool's value goes way up because there's only so many ways to be able to cast those cards, right? And then you also have the added bonus of having these extra late game effects of being able to twin cast something late, being able to clone something late at instant speed. And so that's a really interesting card.
I will be shocked if they treat it like a 6th color. I will be shocked.
Absolutely.
That you only get it from waste, you only get it from Mirror Pool, you only get it from certain creatures that tap for diamond or cards that make diamond mana. That I will be absolutely shocked at. I do not think that's why. That's why the colorless thing makes so much sense to me.
Right. I mean, it makes a lot of sense as colorless, but then I come back to Hedron Archive. I come back to, like, why didn't they just do this a set ago?
Maybe Eldrazi, like, mixed with the colorless mana, and all of a sudden this colorless
Ulamog
mana
wasn't good enough for diamonds?
No, he wasn't. No, he's just a dork. He's a dude.
Well, I know I'm good enough for diamonds. They're my best friends.
Nice.
I was so close to getting there.
Go.
Beat me by half a sentence, Aaron. I'm so mad.
All right, so we're going to move on now to the O2 drop. Been a while since we've ran this one.
Yeah.
Whew. Now, originally...
We're pretty good at 1-3 dropping.
Yes.
But O2 is a lot tougher to do these.
O2 stuff. So anyway, we wanted to take this segment and talk a little bit about the Legendary Cube. So the Legendary Cube, if you've been watching my stream at twitch.tv/EvanIrwin, you will see me battling through the Legendary Cube. And I have played many cubes in my time. I have built many cubes in my time. I love cube design. I feel like I helped a lot when it was getting started back in the day. And this is, without a doubt, the most dirtily, ridiculous, mana-infused crap I've ever seen in my life. I have never, of all the cubes I've ever played, seen this much mana fixing. It is completely ridiculous. There's Rupture Spire, there's Ancillary Sphere, there's the there's Cold Steel Heart. I mean, literally all of them. All of the dual lands, all the Karus, all the Signets, every Croson Verge. I mean, even the Mirage ones, Rocky Tar Pit and all that crap.
Wow. Badlands?
Yes.
Love it.
Dude, they're all there, man. Like, and I tried. So
Not
the first.
Badlands, Bad River. That's
Bad
what
River, yes.
Yeah,
So the
Bad
first
River.
time I drafted it, it was just the most ridiculous, dirtly pile of trash I've ever drafted. And I learned a few things. Door to Nothingness can win you actual games. You may actually hardcast Progenitus. Not kidding. Easily doable. Legacy Weapon is a bomb in this format. It's absurd. Just take lands after lands and take the few bombs that you see roaming around, but mainly you're just going to take the lands for about a pack and a half, and then just pick every good card and play every good card, and then that's what you do. And you hope that you get the draw better than your opponent, or that you got enough draw spells, or got enough impactful spells, because it is just insane. I have never. It's like, even if you're trying to draft aggro, which is very difficult, by the way, there are very, very few one-drops in this cube, and they have specifically made this cube to make aggro bad. Why? Because there's only so many one-drop legendary creatures anyway, so there's only so many to choose from. It's like a Samaru, Kithion, Risk the Redeemed, stuff like that, and that there's not much else. And what I have learned is, I was like, my God, it just doesn't matter. Like, all these cards that are just completely garbage and jokes and hilarious are actually good in this cube. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, I saw a screenshot from Owen, who is
Hold on a second, Ruben. Something horrible is going on right now with Ruben. He has become part of the Matrix again.
Oh dear.
Oh my
breaking
God,
up,
dude!
Can you hear me or no?
I can hear you, but it's very rough. You're at 240p, if you will.
Oh my dear Lord.
All right.
I'm not here.
We were talking about Kozilek, and he's disrupting you now. Just
All right, so I understand. So something's going on with that internet connection, but Aaron, do you have any desire to play a cube like this, or even just cube in general? Tell me what you feel.
no.
No, but Aaron, it's fun magics.
Fun Magic for me is playing a game where I have no interaction with my opponents. So this whole, I have to actually no. To be fair, I've never really been a big cube enthusiast. I don't have a problem with people who are. I don't have a problem with cubes in general. It's just not really my thing. If I do cube, it's usually with friends where they have a cube built and we're all just sort of playing for fun. But I'm just not really good at sealed, and it just doesn't really appeal to me. So I wish Ruben would come back and take this off my shoulders.
I can see and hear you guys fine. So
All right,
Okay.
you sound better.
hopefully
So give us some
hopefully I'm
thoughts.
back on some way, shape, or form.
You are.
Sorry, I had to delve deep into the abyss to find something relevant to talk about, and I came back with this.
All right.
Which is Owen. Owen Turnwald, consensus one of the best players in the world, if not the best player in the world, had a screenshot about his first legendary cube draft, and it had 4 copies of Riven Turnbull. Are you familiar with what Riven Turnbull does? Off the top of your head.
Riven Turnbull was a legend from Legends.
From Legends, yeah.
Black, blue, 5 colorless
Yep, we're correct so far.
for a 5/7, a 4/7, a 5/7. I got it.
5/7. What
And
does it do? What does it do, Evan?
He taps for a black.
Taps for 1 black mana. And thus is the end of the card text on Riven Turnbull.
Yes.
5/7 for 7 mana dork in blue-black. And he had 4 copies of it.
Yes.
And this was like a reasonable strategy, apparently.
Oh my
So,
god.
you know, it's like...
It has
it
1
doesn't-
star on Gatherer. Do you know how
Yeah.
hard it is to get
Oh.
1 star on Gatherer?
Oh,
Like
it's
there are some
bad.
pretty
Not very
crummy.
good.
There
Not
are some
very
pretty
good.
crummy cards that people at least feel bad for you and give you 2 for. No, this one has just 1 star.
So yeah, this cube is for all of the Aliantrazis, the Jack Grannons of the world that just want to do nothing but cast like Chromatic Lantern and develop mana for the first 8 turns of the game.
Yeah,
right? Just
that's
sit
all
there
you
and
have to
marvel.
do. Yeah.
I don't know
I
how
could get into
interested
that.
I am. I don't know how interested I am in that.
Well, that's the thing, Aaron. You were just like, I don't like to interact with my opponent. I'm like, this cube is for you. You literally do nothing for like 7 turns. You just get perfect mana where you fix your mana forever and you run all these Karus, all these Signets, all these search lands, all these artifacts, all these multicolored lands. You just don't care. And then finally you're like, all right, fine. I'll just play like a dragon. And they're
I'll have
like,
to
can you
give it
deal
a
with the
try
dragon?
then.
All right, I'll just play this other stupid thing. I'll play this crazy huge spell. I'll play like Maelstrom Wanderer, actual bomb in that format.
Oh my
like
God.
easily first pickable. Incredible because no one can stop you. There's just no aggro. They have killed aggro in this format. So the aggroest it's going to get is Naya that sometimes has good 3-drops and 4-drops. And 3-drops and 4-drops are not how aggro gets you. Aggro gets you on turn 1, 2, and 3, not on turns 3 through maybe 9. And that's what
Yeah.
you got.
If
Wait,
there
wait.
is an aggro in this cube, which I'm sure there is, like I'm sure you can draft some sort of white-based aggressive deck with the 3 total 1-drops that there are in white and like Brimaz and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like most of the cube drafts are just going to be, pick as many bounce lands as we can, hope to pick up like the 2 actual good legends,
Yep.
and just build the deck around those.
So you're saying I can play a 7/5 with double Cascade?
Bomb. Actual bomb.
It gives all
Easily
your
first pickable.
other creatures
Sold.
haste.
Sold.
No joke. Easy bomb, crazy good. Always you're going to cast it basically every game that you get it. It's in your hand. Okay, great. I'm going to cast this card. This card's dumb.
The good news is that your deck is also full of 7-drops. So usually your 8-drop Cascade dude is going to get, another Riven Turnbull or something equally ridiculous.
It's going to be crazy. So
That's
it's a very unique cube in that way. I get
Right.
that. That's cool. That's what's cool about it. It's
I will
different.
reserve judgment until I play it because I've yet to be able to play it yet because I've been, relatively busy. But I mean, normally a cube draft takes 3 hours on Moto, right? So this is going to take longer, I would imagine.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, normally, like Legacy Weapon, a bomb, like, Door to Nothingness can win games. You hard cast your Progenitus and stuff. Like, it's once the game starts to do that, like, turn where, like, you cast your huge Maelstrom Wanderer and you got to Cascade twice and crazy stuff happen, like, the game ends quickly thereafter. So it's not like the games go on super long. And when I tried to draft aggro, they didn't last that long either because I actually kind of got there. But
Oh, really?
well, okay, here you go. Sword of the Chosen from Exodus. 2 mana, tap, give legendary creature +2/+2. That pumps every creature in your entire deck. Day of Destiny, a bomb rare, a white and 3 colors from Betrayers of Kamigawa. All legendary creatures you control get +2/+2. That's every creature in your entire deck. It was awesome. I played Thrun, and I played the white-red Emerald. It's this giant from the new Commander set that's like a 4 mana 3/3 double strike vigilance, and it was like, okay, fine, and you had to cast big spells in order to put like experience counters, but whatever. You just got to play Day of Destiny, Sword of the Chosen, actual playable cards now, and that was what was really cool, that these cards that are just complete garbage actually turned into be really cool and really playable stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm still focused on the fact I'd never seen the art for Legacy Weapon. I still can't get over how grisly that is. It's just Karn holding some dude's head like sup.
That's the
it's
new art.
Urza.
The old art was from Apocalypse, the
Right.
set Apocalypse, which was a faraway shot of the Legacy Weapon being used from the Weatherlight, aiming
Right.
down
Okay.
at something. Then the new one was kind of gruesome, which was just Karn holding Urza's head.
Well, that's the thing, and so because I am butt deep in Urza's lore, Urza's saga lore, Urza block lore, I know. And what happens is Gerard kills Urza because Yawgmoth brought Gerard and Urza down into Phyrexia, and that removed his Planeswalker abilities. And Gerard and Urza had to battle off in the Phyrexian arena, and that's the picture of Phyrexian arena in Apocalypse, is him holding the sword up, about to chop off Urza's head, which he does. And he then takes that head with him, because Planeswalkers don't die. They're actually immortal. There's a whole bunch of stuff about that stuff. But regardless, he takes that.
The old Planeswalkers,
goes there.
not the new.
Yeah, they did stuff in Time Spiral to make him like actually sort of human. But
Reasonable, yeah.
but whatever. Back in the day, they were just like superhero god type creatures. And what's really cool about that Urza's Legacy, or that Legacy Weapon image in particular, is that it has literally every piece of it. It has all the bones of Ramos, which was the original Dragon Engine. If you go to Antiquities and look up Dragon Engine, that is the pieces of the Legacy Weapon. Is all that stuff of Ramos. When you look at Mercadian Masks and you'll see all that stuff, that's where it comes from.
Eye of Ramos,
and
Horn, and all that good stuff. Yeah,
exactly, which is really cool. The Juju Bauble or something's in there.
Bauble.
Squeeze
Yeah.
Toy is in there. Squeeze Toy is a part of the Legacy Weapon. It's so weird. So yeah, there's like a million different things that make it up, and I'm getting my way through Forgotten Lore and being able to sort of really piece all that stuff together for everybody. But it's weird and fascinating. But regardless, it's a bomb and it's huge. Let's keep moving. Gather the Townsfolk. We're going to talk a little bit about the changes to the Magic Online Championship series. So I've been talking a lot. Ruben, can you give us like a little rundown of what's going on with some mocks and what they're trying to change, and if you have any opinions on it, or if you'd like to throw it to Aaron?
Buddy, anything for a friend.
Thank you.
I'm gonna post the link to the official announcement into the chat here before we get going. So they made a couple changes to the Magic Online Championship series, better known as the mocks. They've been trying to like keep up the relevance of it, even as players have sort of moved away from it. And by players, I mean a lot of the live players who are typically going to GPs. Many of them
No.
championship series.
No.
Did I die again?
You did.
Yeah.
All right, you're back. You're back though.
I'm back. I'm in my house. I'm not even on location this time. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know, buddy.
But anyway, so the structure of the new Magic Online Championship Series has changed slightly. The biggest change that I saw discussed on Twitter was that Platinum Pros are getting automatic invites in order to try to compete rather than needing to earn more points.
Right.
As well as Hall of Famers, I believe, get some benefits, right?
Yes, Platinum and Gold Pros and Hall of Fame members get invites into the monthly qualifiers. Platinum Pros get invites to the quarterly playoffs. And yeah, if you
Silver
Silver
Pros
get a couple points. They get like 15 points.
Right.
correct, but they can bank those. Like, let's say you don't have enough for the 35 points from that one contribution, you can wait until the next downtime comes for the next month, the next quarterly event, and then get your. I think you get them at every quarterly. Every monthly event. So you can save up those points and eventually get enough to buy your way in.
Right.
Yeah.
So seasons are being removed is basically
Yes.
the big headline here. What does that mean
Yes.
exactly?
So I was actually trying to qualify for the Mox preliminary this month, and they're eliminating the preliminaries too. So the way that I was trying to qualify for Mox this month was if you get 15 qualifier points, you can buy yourself a seat to the preliminary event. If you do well enough in that event, you can earn 35 QP, which will buy you a seat into the finals, which is the actual Mox monthly event. The way it's, or you could just get 35 points and skip the preliminaries and go straight to the main event for the monthly. The way that this is going, the problem with that, and which I found out very early on of trying to do this, is that you literally have like 28 days to do this, and you're having to play. And I know pro players who play Magic Online regularly that can't even, and this isn't shade to them, but even they can't 4-0 a daily that much, or even they can't win an 8-man that frequently to earn the number of points that need need to do this. It's a real grind, especially if you have a full-time job, especially if you maybe aren't very good at this game or what have you. Earning what seems to be 15 points in 30 days is kind of tough. So the way it stands right now is that you are not locked to a month anymore. So let's say that I earned 7 points this month, and I didn't have enough to earn my shot into the preliminary this month. Once the next month rolls around, those points are invalid. They mean nothing. I am back at 0. By getting rid of the seasons, I have those points for the year. So, let's say I don't have enough for that 1 month. Let's say I didn't earn my 35 points to buy me a seat. I can wait 4 more months, and then let's say I've accumulated those points, and I'm like, oh, hey, I have enough to buy myself a seat, and then you're in. So for somebody like me or other people, you're not stuck to 30 days. Okay, got to get your points, got to do your dailies, got to do this. That's really annoying. You can just sort of kind of let it happen, and you're like, oh, I just happen to have 35 points. That's really cool. And it does take a lot of the grind away from it. Knowing that you only had a month to do something is really difficult.
Right. So those seem to be kind of like the big points. The other one was the promo doesn't change all year. It's the Texas Lightning Bolt. That's not cool. I will tell you, and I'm not even involved in this system, and that's a bad idea. What is going on? Who wants the same promo over and over and over and over? A, it's going to be worthless because everyone has a million copies of it. And B, I get it that it's neat and all, but why can't you print... dude, it's the digital game, man. You can literally give them any 1 or 0 in your database, and you decide to give them these. What? I don't understand. That makes no sense to me. So Mishra's Photoshop, which is a terrific Twitter account, and it's Photoshop with an F, F-O-T-O shop. And he made an image where he took part of the article and he kind of chopped it up into bits. And I have it here on the screen here where he's talking about the good, the bad, and the not so. We're pretty sure not so great. Where the goods,
the 100% bad, the 0% bad, and the 70 to 80% bad.
It's questionable. The good, the no more seasons, no more preliminaries, splashy qualifier promos, 2 QPs for 8-4 drafts. The Mox champ benefits are great, and they get platinum and all that stuff for the person who wins it. Future sets as prizes. I actually think that's a really cool idea. To be able to earn packs from the new set before the new set comes out, because so when that new set comes out, man, you're off and running, and you got all the sweet he's got all the sweet product. Leaderboard points, that's cool. The bad, the yearly promo sucks. It's dumb. What, really? It's stupid. I can't call it anything else. I can't stand it. It makes no sense to me. It seems lazy. That's the thing I don't like about it the most. You shouldn't even do it if you can't even do it once a year. Just don't even bother. No limited monthly or quarterly mocks. That's weird. There usually were limited events.
Yeah.
Now there's not. So the big one that I want to really talk about, because it seems to be the number one thing that people were focusing on, is platinum players getting a chance to play in these events. I personally see no problem giving the platinum people who pay so much time and attention to Magic. They travel, they dedicate huge chunks of their lives to the game. They can play in this Magic Online thing. It'll get people excited. They'll be probably streaming it, and people will be excited to watch that. It'll bring attention to the Mox, because the Mox has kind of been this weird redheaded stepchild where they give away over a...
I'm a redheaded stepchild.
Are you? Oh, well, you know what I mean. They give away over $100,000 to that championship series, and nobody cares. Maybe they do. Certainly the people in it do. But you're giving away $100,000. Why is no one paying attention to this? If you get the platinum pros in there, and you get someone like an Owen or a Finkel or a Reed Duke or anybody who is notable and has these platinum stats to be involved in this tournament, it's going to bring more eyeballs to it. I mean, look, man, I love those guys, and I'm sure they're awesome Magic players, but I don't recognize a single person from that last Mox. Were there anybody there? Maybe there was. I think there was Martin Dang or somebody was there.
The Mox is traditionally the spot where someone makes a name for themselves and then becomes famous afterwards, right?
Sure. It's where Reed Duke came from.
It's where Reed Duke came from, for example. There's a lot of people who've come from the Mox. But it has certainly taken a back seat in terms of its relevance.
Right.
In terms of when you look at, for example, the World Championships, and everyone does their top 24 player rankings, and you look at everyone who everyone thinks will finish first and who everyone thinks will top 4. Mm-hmm. No one ever picks the Mox winner, and they always think that they're going to finish last or second to last.
Yep.
Right? And so it's kind of this awkward situation of we want this to be a thing. Yeah. How do we make it a thing? And one good way to make it a thing is make sure that the best players in the world who've proven that they're the best players in the world over the course of a year or over the course of the season in live Magic can do it online as well. There are only so many hours in the day. So when you hold a live Grand Prix on the same day as a preliminary PTQ online or a MOX qualifier, then there's only so many tournaments that these guys can play in. I know that Michael Sigrist made or won his seat into the MOX or into one of the MOX championships because he couldn't fly to a GP.
He just decided
and it was like,
to play
I'll just play the MOX this weekend, and then he just banked it, right?
Obviously.
So that's one thing.
Right.
So I mean, the big change, the big overall changes are that the old system, right, was it was like sort of like a 2-tiered system, right? You could place highly enough in like a preliminary tournament to play in the PTQ the next week. And that was the 2 tiers.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And now you've got these tokens. You've got these red and blue tokens.
Yes, the tokens.
Evan, you should talk about the red and blue tokens briefly.
Well, I want to go back to
you could alternate seasons of. You basically have. They basically cycles like the new standard will, where you can use this red and blue token for the next 2 seasons, and then you can use the red token for this section, and then this. Does this make any sense? I don't know if I'm wording this correctly.
Well, I think we kind of took a leap. Like I thought I still had something to add about the MOX stuff. But Willie Edel actually brought up a really good point, and he said that he wasn't sure that Platinum Pros should be getting auto-qualified to the quarterly events because he was concerned that it would skew the leaderboard slots, and that's another way that you can sort of auto-qualify for the quarterly. And he said that there's no reason to give the Platinums or anybody invites to the quarterly because they already have the qualifier points to go to monthlies. And I thought that was a really good argument. You know, if you're giving somebody the chance to qualify with a monthly, you know, let them, I don't know, maybe let them earn, I don't want to say let them earn it because that sounds terrible, but like, you know, I understand where he's coming from. I just can't think of the words to
I mean,
politely.
To me, I just think that, you know, because Wizards will not involve sponsors in Magic, which is a terrible idea and they should fix that immediately. Yeah. You can't really live as a professional Magic player. You can't just do that. You have to write articles. You have to, you know, create income for yourself in some other way, whether even if it's like a part-time job or something that you work. But so to give them like another benefit that makes it cool and a great thing to be platinum, to me personally, I have no problem with that. So I'm going to bring up on screen the Pro Tour qualifier changes.
Right. This is what I was talking about. Sorry. It sort of got piggybacked on. These were sort of announced together. This is like changes to how the Pro Tour qualifiers online work.
Right. So if you play in a PPTQ and you're good enough to win a slot in the actual PTQ, you get these tokens. They're on screen. There's a red one and for constructed and limited. There's a blue one for constructed and limited. And down here, when you scroll down, you have this whole chart of what the red one's good for, what the blue one's good for, what the red one's good for, what the blue's good for. Okay, so I get that. And I actually think it's a fine place to start. What I feel is the problem is I don't like these tokens the way that they look. I don't like the fact that you have to go, well, they're red or they're blue and they're red and they're blue, but which tournament are they for? Well, they could be whatever. Like if these tokens were Shadows over Innistrad Pro Tour tokens, they could be both constructed and limited. And instead you had Liliana on one and you had Gristlebrand on the other. And if it was from Battle for Zendikar, you know, you would have Gideon on one and Kiora on the other or whatever. And you would be able to wrap your mind around what these tokens are actually for, because it's hard to remember like which Pro Tour is for which color because the colors fall off. And I don't want to forget that I have the wrong color and all of a sudden the colors get taken away and I have to go back to this chart where it tells me which red or blue token is for which thing, versus saying like, why isn't it, it's like why don't you have something that says like a Pro Tour Shadows over Innistrad Pro Tour Sydney 2016 token, you know what I mean? Like if that way you can know exactly what these tokens are for, and there's none of this like, well, I got to go look at the matrix between red and blue to figure out what Pro Tour qualifier I can actually play in. I think the idea is sound. I just think they need to go another step where they say it's not just red or blue, it's themed around the sets, or it actually spells out what Pro Tour they are for. Another, which I get it's a shortcut. They don't have to keep making new tokens. They can just reuse the same ones over and over. But that doesn't mean that's the best experience as a player to understand what in the world is going on with these things. Mm-hmm. Is this me? Anybody?
This is just like, so far out of my. First of all, it's not relevant for me, but because I don't play Magic online, and so I don't really understand like why this was necessary, right? Like, were there a lot of complaints about this from the players who played in a lot of online PTQs?
I got nothing.
I can't really speak to that. I can say that there were 2 other changes I really like. I do like that they extended the preliminary events to happen on weekends.
Sure.
Before, I do work a full-time job and I do have other responsibilities. And so, when I would see that a lot of the events were like, Thursday and Friday, it was like I couldn't always get to those. And it was like, I think giving people, the possibility of Saturday or Sundays is really cool.
Yeah.
I also like that they are giving people more time to play in a final. From what I understand, I have friends who play in the PPTQs, and as it stands right now, you may win your PPTQ, and they're like, "Hey, girl, your finals are tomorrow," and you're like,
Right.
like, I haven't
Yeah.
tested. I don't know. I could use more time. I could use just some sort of decompression, and you just don't really have any time to process that. And so this gives people more time to, brush up on things. And I think that's a really good change instead of immediately, jettisoning someone from one event to the next. I think those changes are cool.
Right. And I like the fact that you don't have to worry about which event you are qualified for. That's the ease of knowing when you can enter is much better here with this new system. It's just a better ease of use system, I think, where you have this ticket and you have it, the token. Like, you can just use it, and now you've used it. As opposed to previously where it was like, well, you're allowed to enter this event or this event, but not these two. But then you can also enter this one. And it was very confusing for folks that didn't know exactly which events that they could play in, and of course scheduling conflicts and stuff like that. I think that seeing the physical token in your collection, even though it's not Gristlebrand Liliana themed based on whatever set it's around, I think that it makes sense. Like, it's very, as Evan would say, it's grokkable. It's easy to get your head around.
What?
No, grok's a term. It was actually
Grok's a term. Okay.
Grok is a gaming term.
well,
It is a
grok.
term.
It's actually a cyberpunk term that meant
Right.
it was created by Stevenson. Anyway,
No, it's from Heinlein.
Heinlein. Okay, it just means to understand. If you grok something, you understand something.
It's from this book. Here,
Snow
actually,
Crash?
from Stranger and a Strange Land.
Wow.
Okay.
Nice.
Originally, Robert Heinlein is a sci-fi writer. He also wrote Starship Troopers.
Didn't he write Tale of the Body Snatchers or the Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
So
Puppet Masters.
possibly.
it?
He's
Possibly.
written a lot of books. But anyway, Stranger in a Strange Land is his magnum opus. He's very famous for this. And anyway, the term grok is a word that Martians, people who grew up on Mars, humans who grew up on Mars, use to mean to easily understand. And it's become used in gaming because the sci-fi and nerd crossover.
Nerd culture adopted
So
it.
anyway,
Yeah, he did write
it's
the
a
Puppet
very
Masters.
easy thing to grok. And this new system is much easier to grok than the old
Right.
system. I'm very intimidated by Magic Online tournament structures. It's one of the reasons why I stay away from it.
They're-
Because it's I just don't
They're hard to understand. I
how
feel
you
like
get into it.
yeah. I feel like it's very
So
unclear.
Anything that makes it easier to use is great. And this will be for the Pro Tour Shadows over Innistrad season. As soon as that starts picking up, this is when these will become relevant.
Right. And so I think they've come a long way. First of all, major props to having that Highland book literally within arm's reach.
Huh? I have it on my desk.
That is nerd cred that you just can't buy.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Incredible.
Check out that thickness right there.
I know, right? It's a big old book. But yeah, I think I think they've made a good first step. I think they're on their way. But you gotta make me stop from going to a random webpage that announced these changes to look at a matrix to tell me what I'm qualified for. That's a problem. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I just don't like that. All right, so we're going to move on now to Going Infinite. A few thought experiments. The first one that I wanted to bring up was Rosewater, and I tried to look for his article on the Magic website, and of course I couldn't find it because can't really find anything on that website, but it's fine. But he noted, someone said...
Discussion for another date and time.
That's
I
right.
don't
Someone...
seem to have a problem, so I'm curious what.
Because I'm the worst. I don't know. The website's hard. Mark Rosewater noted, like someone said, what would it take to have another Unset. And he was like, well, it's going to take like the community support. It's going to take people like vocally saying they want another Unset and getting behind it and saying how much they would enjoy it, because they have to really, explain, because the Unsets I can imagine just were financial failures, for lack of a better word. I don't think they just completely flopped, but they just didn't make as much money as anything else they're making. And so I understand that. The Unsets are fun. They're weird. They're cool. They were juiced with these full basic art lands that were amazing because they needed something to draw in people who didn't care about how big the shoe size was when you're playing a card, or how old your grandma is, or whatever, who's playing it, or whatever.
Or denim
walks. So where people had to take off their pants during the pre-release and stuff, which is weird.
Wait, what?
Well, there's
denim
a card.
That's relevant to my interest.
I know.
A card called Heirloom Wrangler.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was a 2/3 for 4 that had Denim Walk. Denim Walk is if your opponent is wearing jeans, it's unblockable.
Right.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So mid-combat, people would take their pants off. And
block.
The Heirloom Wrangler.
And then they would put their pants back on, because that's how you play Magic. And
You don't?
in a public setting. Oh, absolutely. Just
In
a public
setting.
setting. That's the
clear.
key.
You
That's
don't?
the key.
Like-
All right. So an unset, I just thought it was a really interesting thing to like be, you know what? Like an unset is neat, is cool. I don't know if it's actually a great idea to bring it back.
Oh, heavens no. It's a horrible idea to bring back. I love it, but it's horrible. It's a horrible business.
It's a bad business decision is what I feel like.
It's a really bad business decision. The only way that they were even remotely marketable is, as you mentioned, the full art lands, right? So those lands are, islands are like $25 a piece or something ridiculous like that, right? Foils are 3 digits probably. I haven't looked at it recently.
I don't know.
But
They're very
those
expensive.
are why people would buy old boxes of Unglued and Unhinged. And as much as I'd like to see Undone, that's what I did.
Wow.
As much as I'd like to see it personally, it doesn't make sense. They're really good for inside jokes for people who are already in Magic.
Right.
But the thing is that Magic sets sort of try to reach one of two communities, either brand spanking new young people, gamers, or people who played Magic 10 years ago and they want to bring them back into the game.
Okay.
Right? And so that's and this doesn't really bring either of them back, right?
It makes them chuckle.
It makes them go, it's probably funny to somebody, but that's not a joke that I think is funny, right? Like if you look at a card today, like Mize, for example, is a card that everyone in Magic is like, it says Mize on it. That's a funny thing to Magic players because we sort of know what that is. But that's a joke that was funny 10 years ago. Mize was a thing that people said in Magic 10 years ago.
Right.
It's not really a thing that Magic players say in tournaments anymore. And if they do, then they're saying it of sort of being nostalgic.
They're being ironic.
Remember when Mize was a thing.
Right.
So, the Magic inside jokes of like, if they made EV Elemental or whatever it would be,
right.
For the third unset, it wouldn't be funny in 5-10 years to new players. And so I think that it just doesn't make sense to spend a lot of time and energy creating a 150 card set and then put them all in packs and then send them out so that people will only buy them because you can get full art wastes, which are already full art, right? Because that's what they'd have to put in Undone.
Nice.
Is they'd have to put full art wastes that are unthemed or whatever.
So
or some sort of expedition kind of thing.
Yeah, unsets are they're a little bit ridiculous. Aaron, do you have any thoughts on these at all?
Can I dredge in them?
Okay, moving on. Danny West wrote an article on Star City where he talks about time. He talks about time after time. And I think this is a great bookend for what we talked about last week with Paulo Vitor, which is, time management and calling slow play is a problem in tournaments. And it's one of those things that is a reality. It's a gray area that no one likes to talk about. And he kind of goes a little bit deeper, obviously, because it's Danny West and he's an awesome writer. And he talks a little bit about, the horror show that is Sensei's Divine Top. One of my favorite quotes of the most recent sort of Magic era is Patrick Sullivan live on air. It says, Sensei's Divining Top is a horror show. It is a nightmare without end. It is unbelievable how accurate that statement is because everyone hates playing against it. Everyone hates covering it. Everyone hates watching it. It just screws up tournaments.
Most people hate playing it. I should
Some.
note.
Sure. And he does things to give you some real basic time management tips. Like stop activating fetch lands at the end of your opponent's turn. There's no stifle. There's nothing that they're going to get you with. Just play it, sag it, do it, and go. It's like he noted that when Brad Nelson, was playing and they played it and he got his land and he said, go, and that's the end of it. And, JD and Clomparens played their land, got it, said go. What are you doing? Why are you making people wait? Like it's this big thrill. Like, no one has any idea you're actually going to go get a battle land or whatever. And in Legacy, it's just, and then my favorite is at the end, he's like, well, what if we took the amount of time that a Sensei's Dividing Top takes over the average number of tournaments, over the average, multiplied by all these different times spending it. And it's, taking up something like Sensei's Dividing Top has technically killed at least 3 or 4 people by expanding the lifespans. It's unbelievable, because I was there when Sensei's Dividing Top was in Extended, and it was so bad they banned it because it made tournaments last too long. That's why they banned it. Not because it was overpowered, because it was completely miserable and made people hate playing the format. And there have been multiple discussions at one point or other about, could we ask Wizards to ban it because coverage hates it so much, because it's horrible and it's annoying.
It is absolutely horrific. It is a horror show. Yes. And also Patrick Sullivan is just a master of words.
The nut high. Unbelievable.
He's just a verbal kickboxer. He's just so good. Oh, but anyway, Sensei's Divining Top is a card that is too good not to play. And it's just a necessary evil. But the fact that it's so good, combined with it being so slow, it's just a drain on everyone and everything in every tournament that it's in, is a problem. And I think that it's in a unique circumstance, and that it's the only thing that really does this. No one's really playing Miri's Guile, right? Sylvan Library sees some play. Yeah, you and your Enchantress deck. All right.
Oh my God.
Sylvan Library seems some play, but it's not like people are playing, cards like Sensei's Divining Top that require you to activate it 3 or 4 times a turn. You'll see top players with Counterbalance in play activate this card 3 or 4 times a turn, fetch, activate, try to set up all this stuff. And, every time you do that, you have another decision to make, and you have to put them back in the right order. Even if you're not playing Miracles, I've played Sensei's Divining Top in a deck like the Painter's Stone deck, where I'm just using it because I have lots of shuffle effects like Imperial Recruiter, right? So I'm just using it as just a thing that I'm looking for pieces. And I'm even taking more time, and I kind of hate myself when I'm playing Sensei's Divining Top. It's a really frustrating card to play with and against. It's a big problem. And so, especially for Legacy, Sensei's Divining Top is the problem. And he's also talked about how in Standard, fetch lands are a big problem, or are the biggest problem.
Sure.
They aren't a huge problem, and not nearly as much as something like Top is. Heaven forbid we get anything that looks at the top cards of our library or anywhere else in Standard anytime soon. But I think that Wizards has learned from their mistake. I think that it's also worth noting that they've had several opportunities to ban Divining Top and chosen not to. Mm-hmm. And they've also not really done anything else to Legacy they've gotten rid of some cards for power level reasons, but they have not done anything really for time reasons like they did for Old Extended. And I don't think that they will, if they haven't yet. So I think that Sensei's Divining Top is probably here to stay for the foreseeable future, unfortunately.
It is a thing, and makes me really sad because, God almighty.
Well, there were a couple things about Danny's article that I really liked. And Danny's the kind of writer where when I read his stuff, I find myself yelling at the screen, like, preach! Like, yes! Like, he just says, I love writers who say what nobody else will say. And Ari Lax has moments like that, too, and I love him for it. And there were several points that I like. I do like that he brought up the fetch land part. And I think a lot of that is how we're programmed, especially if you play older formats. You're programmed to wait until a certain point to crack because you don't know what you're up against. Where if your opponent's going to play, you got to see if they're going to play a Blood Moon, then you'll respond by fetching a basic. Or if you need to fetch and remand, or fetch and path, or fetch to bolt, and when you go to a standard format where none of that's really an issue, you don't have to worry about that. But those of us who play older formats are so used to that. The other thing he brings up is have sideboard plans before you go to the tournament. There are people who spend so much time agonizing over what they're going to bring in, where a lot of times it's really simple. Or if you look at someone's sideboard, you're like, how did it take you this long? Like, why are we spending so much time doing that? You should already be thinking about what you're going to board in as the match is kind of winding down, where you're like, oh, that card's going to be really good right now. And I do that too. And I think that's really, really useful. The other thing I like that he really touched on was the know your deck well enough when to pick your cards up. And he's like, your opponent has Ugin, Jace, and 4 cards in hand. They have 6 life and they cast Dig Through Time. You have a Den Protector. take the draw, you know, and people who are like, no, girl, there's a chance, take the draw. Or people who, when it goes to time, it's going to be a draw. You know, there's nothing you can do in those 5 turns. Just take the draw and move on. And I really appreciate all these things because people just don't do these things.
They just don't get it.
I think that there is a saving grace, which is that, you know, they banned Dig Through Time and they banned Treasure Cruise for power level reasons. And so what they could do with Legacy is they could ban everything until Miracles is the most powerful deck by far, and then ban Top.
And then go back and unban all that other stuff.
Well, they wouldn't. I mean, some of the other stuff, right? But they could ban, you know, 5 to 7 cards.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, that's probably not that one. That one's not slowing games down either. It's not taking over formats. You know,
No.
They could ban, if they wanted to, they could ban the most powerful things, right? Like Tarmogoyf. We're going infinite here, right?
You're going way infinite.
They could ban Delver. They could ban, you know, probably not Tarmogoyf.
Brainstorm.
They could ban Brainstorm, right? And just shake up the whole format and ban Top, and then we'd have a brand new format. That's the way you ban Top. But Top is not the most powerful thing going on.
No, it's not. It's just the most annoying.
You could probably.
But it is the most annoying. Yeah.
There are some decent arguments for banning Counterbalance, which would, in theory, you know, sort of cripple
Help.
Top, and then, so.
People would still play Top.
Right, but that's the
would
thing.
not nearly be the thing that it is now.
Yeah, it would just be to improve the quality of life of every Legacy player.
Yeah.
That's all I got. I mean, you know.
And commentator. And viewer.
And commentator and viewer and anyone who has to get anywhere near that stupid 1 mana artifact from
And
Champions.
podcast commentator who has to discuss it every once in a while.
Where we have to explain how dumb it is. Now, so Splash Damage is next, and we wanted to talk about desertbus.org. The wonderful people from Desert Bus hit me up and said, hey, we have this thing that we do. It is the longest running internet fundraiser. They play the never released Penn and Teller game that drives a bus across the Nevada desert.
It is hilarious to explain.
It is unbelievable. I got it pulled up on here. In 2007, Loading Ready Run, the internet sketch comedy group, decided to run the fundraiser, and over time they've raised more than $2.4 million for Child's Play over 8 years. It's what happens when a huge community come together, organizers, volunteers, everybody. And I love the mini game from the never released Sega CD game, Penn and Teller's Smoke and Mirrors. What's supposed to be the worst game of all time. You have to drive this bus, but the bus has this kind of yaw, so it's always pulling to one direction. So you can't just let it drive. You have to actively drive the bus. And all you're doing is going to the one location, literally turning around and going back, and it takes like 130 hours or something insane for this to happen. It's absolutely insane.
So the rules to Desert Bus are you start, and then you can't accidentally drive off the road.
Right. Got to keep it on the road the whole time.
And you have to drive 3,000 miles.
Right.
At 55 miles an hour.
Right.
And if you reach the other coast, it immediately turns you around to start over again, and you get 1 point.
Yep. 1 point. 1.
That is the rules to Desert Bus.
So apparently,
I think the high score is like 6.
Yeah, so based on what I have here pulled up on the screen for everybody, how donation/hours work, they will suffer for the children. Rather than have an arbitrary cutoff, the length of the Desert Bus Marathon is solely determined by the donations we receive. So the more you donate, the longer we play. And they have a whole scale here where, you know, if they raise $106 million, they'll play it for 14 days or something insane.
Oh my dear.
However, as you can see here, for the totals from 2007 to 2014, they have raised more money every single year than they have the year before. Right now, there's 150 hours that they're going to be running that bus for, and they've already raised $378,000. That is amazing. They were giving away a set of foil Zendikar block, and I mean Zendikar Worldwake Rise of the Eldrazi. And to enter, you had to give $13.33 and or any multiples of it. You could $26.66 or whatever per entry. And you know they raised something like $60,000 off that, and I think that's fantastic. And they only got that because Wizards of the Coast said, here, have this awesome thing that we have sitting in our warehouse that you can give away, that someone will help raise all this money for kids and kids charities. So desertbus.org, visit, hang out with the Desert Bus crew. Lord knows they're going to be doing it for a while as it continues to get longer. And
that is a ridiculous amount of time that they play that game.
it is absolutely insane. That game if
That
you
game.
I
will.
enjoy,
Activity.
you mentioned all the money that can be made from certain items. I enjoy hearing the stories of people that can bring that kind of money in. There was a guy, I don't know exactly, like he's not Magic related. He's more in like the general gaming world. It was Mike something, but the fact that he even just showed up on the stream,
Sure.
the stream blew up, money came pouring in. It's crazy to see just people having that kind of impact where, just to see somebody you love in the desert bus or appearing like through a webcast like ours, that inspires people to give money is really fantastic, and I love watching that happen, and it's cool.
It's
I
super
also
cool.
love the bus. Like I'm watching,
Yeah.
like you said, it's kind of like leaning, and you're like, what
Yes.
is gonna blow up?
And
it's
it
kind
just
of like,
you have to just at the right, just a little bit, but it's like it's not constant, so it's not like you can do that over and over. No, it changes. It messes with
Yeah.
you the whole time. I love it.
It is
Absolutely
absurd.
insane. Oh, I
And
love it.
The other thing is that you can win cool prizes.
Yeah.
They have some raffle kind of giveaway prizes, things like paintings from fantasy artists and other people who are around the Desert Bus project, as well as all the stuff from Wizards of the Coast, like we just talked about. And so,
Sure.
it's a really cool idea for a program to take an unplayable game and play it for charity.
I love
We
it.
will play this game that is so bad, you have to pay us to play it.
Absolutely. So
can we
which
do
I
that with the
love.
legendary cube? Can we?
Oh, that would be lovely.
Oh, I saw what you did there. So we're going to barrel our way around. It is midnight. We're going towards the finisher. And, of course, Ruben locks up immediately as we go to the finisher. He's back.
Come
Great.
back.
He just like immediately was like,
Am I?
no, you're back now, and it's fine. But it was funny. As soon as I said the finisher, just,
I knew as soon as our server connected to Virginia, I knew that this was going to be a problem.
ooh, it's supposed to be Amsterdam.
Calling you out, Virginia.
Yeah. So for the finisher for this week, a recent article called 10 Celebrities You Probably Didn't Know Played MTG, you won't believe number 3, was posted on manaleak.com. And some of the names that appear in the article are Firefly stars, like Nathan Fillon and Alan Tudyk, rather, and comedian Seth Rogen. High five. I love that, celebrities are playing and maybe they're watching something like this.
Nathan Fillion.
Woo woo. Given the opportunity, which celebrity would you like to see cast some spells?
Okay, I'll start. I am a big fan of seeing actor Liam Neeson try to pick up magic because he doesn't care who you are. He will find you and he will doomblade you.
That's right.
Nice.
He has a special set of skills and mana base.
I have a particular set of dual lands.
Ruben?
I think that Russian President Vladimir Putin would make for an excellent Magic player, given his propensity for casting Annex on opposing lands.
Saw what you did there. That's deep. That's deep.
Yeah.
So I would like to sit down across from famed privacy activist Edward Snowden, because no one is better suited to cast Peek. Nobody.
I like that.
Nobody. So, as that ends another episode of Magic Mike's, I want to thank you guys for joining us as you do each and every week. Ruben, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Aaron, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I do appreciate it. We're going to go to our final slide here, as we do. So that ends another episode. I appreciate you guys for supporting us at patreon.com/magicmics, where if you're a $5+ supporter, you can get an extra hour plus of content where we go NSFW and we talk about all the things that we care to talk about.
We really do.
That we just go cray-cray. And the people who have heard it seem to like it quite a bit. So check that out. Visit our website at magicmikespodcast.com. That exists thanks to our Patreon supporters. Or follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe, do everything social that tells people that we exist. Catch us online at twitch.tv/magicmikes, on Twitter at magicmikescast, on Reddit at reddit.com/r/magicmikes, and on Facebook at facebook.com/magicmikes. Talk to us privately at magicmikespodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at magicmikespodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes, or join us here next week. Same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mikes. Good night, everybody.